Pickle.
Final thoughts on it.
I don't love doing this because of what happened last week, but if we're gonna get back on the horse, we got to get back on the horse. It's time for free money.
No.
Free money. My college football picks against the spread.
Okay, did you actually suck last week, or are you doing that thing where you're trying to trick me again? Because
I'm
I
doing
fell
that
for
thing where
that
I'm trying
one.
to trick you
Yeah,
again.
I'm not falling for that again.
I went 5-3.
That's
5-3. It's look.
Decent.
You give me 5-3 every week. Give me 5-3 every week. Promise me 5-3 every week. I'll do it. I'll take it right now. 5-3. Pretty good. A couple of very, very big games this week. In fact, there's an 8-game slate, unless any of these have been canceled that I don't know about. I haven't been on Twitter in 15 seconds, but so.
I believe they're all still on as of
Okay.
now. I could be wrong.
8 games. Most of them out of state.
Or just out-of-state opponents, really. Well, yeah, I guess.
4 of them. Was that right?
1.
No, I'm sorry. We only have
2,
7 games. I lied.
3,
There's 7 games, and more than half of them
4.
are out of state.
Yeah.
West Virginia, Alabama, and Kansas. But we will start at 11 a.m. in the capital.
Yes, down in good old Austin, Texas. TCU heads down to take on number 9 Texas, 11 a.m. on Saturday. Texas favored by 13 at home.
Yeah, really good line. Really good line. Because I think that this is spot on.
Yeah.
Because if you were to ask me like Texas TCU gut feeling, don't show me the line, I would say Texas by 10 to 14.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that's my initial reaction. So one of the big concerns I have suddenly for TCU is the defense.
Yeah, did not look
which is
super
weird.
strong.
Didn't look super sharp against Iowa State. And by the way,
That's unusual.
here's a hot take: Texas's offense is better than Iowa State's. Now, I also think that Texas's defense leaves something to be desired, especially through the air. And so this is going to be the big question for TCU. Is obviously the quarterback spot is up for grabs. I would think that they are going to turn to Baldwin this week.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that, Max Duggan. Max Duggan. I would think that they're going to give him the reins and let him get the start. They looked better with Max Duggan in there. I don't think Matt Downing embarrassed himself, but I think they looked better with Max Duggan in there.
There was like a sense of familiarity almost with Duggan being in there.
Right, exactly. And so the thing for me is that I'm very wary of TCU coming off of a loss because I think that they are a team that they're a team that probably heard about it all week about how you guys, gave one away. I'm going to go with TCU plus 13. I'm going to go with a double-digit road dog here. I think they're able to keep this thing to about 10, something like 44-34, something like that. I think Texas wins.
Defense is going to have to play better,
yes.
though.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, far better.
Absolutely. I think they're going to have to play better. I like TCU plus 13. I think that it's really close, though. Like, this is a really good line.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 10 or 14 in my mind, and I'm going to go with the 10 because I believe in the Gary Patterson bounce-back effect. I'm going to go with TCU plus 13. What's next, Ashley?
Up next, going to one of those out-of-state games you talked about, Baylor heading over to West Virginia, 11 a.m. Saturday. Baylor favored by 3 on the country road.
Yeah, I guess that's right. No, go on.
No. Mm-mm.
No, by all means, please continue.
No.
Okay.
We'll save that for.
So,
for
if you're unfamiliar with West Virginia, West Virginia is 1-1 on the year, and what I think is that for Baylor, they looked really. Again, it's like hard to read that first game because like so much of it was like determined by one guy in Tresson Ebner. Now Tresson Ebner will play again in this game, and he's going to be fantastic. But I do think what I want to see Baylor do is, especially in the secondary, tighten things up. Because last week, even against Kansas was able to get a little bit of passing game going. They just didn't have. They got as much passing game as they have going,
right?
Which is just not much. West Virginia is going to have a much better receiving game. Jarrett Dagey, remember him? Yeah. He's their quarterback. They got a great wide receiver core in Winston Wright and TJ Simmons. The question is going to be on the defensive side for West Virginia, who looked okay last week.
They looked like they needed to still figure some stuff out.
They need to figure a couple of things out, but they looked okay. West Virginia's offensive line's got to hold up. That's going to be a big question in this one. This is another very good line. Mm-hmm. It's Baylor on the road. It's a long road trip. It's an early start on the East Coast.
And even with...
So it's technically 10 a.m. body clock.
Yeah, and even with capacity, worries there, West Virginia still gets really loud.
Yeah, it does.
They're a rowdy bunch.
Yeah, you think they care about coronavirus? No.
Absolutely not. Not in West Virginia, they don't.
I'm going to be a homer for the state of Texas, and I'm going to say Baylor goes and wins it by 7. But I think that game's really close. I think Vegas got nailed some really good lines this week. I'm going to take Baylor -3. I'm going to take a road favorite to go on the road and win. It would not be a surprise, though, especially this is going to be Baylor's defense. Oh, I'm sorry, West Virginia's defense is significantly better than Baylor's. And so if Baylor's non-Treston Ebner making giant plays offense is scuffling still, this game could get problematic for them. But I'm going to take Baylor. I like Baylor -3 to win this game. What is next, Ashley?
All right, we're going over for some CUSA action. UTSA at UAB, 11:30 a.m. Saturday. The Blazers favored by 20.5 over there in Birmingham.
Yeah. So, first of all, shouts to you, Vegas, for not believing in them Roadrunners.
Yeah, they basically
what
said,
in the heck,
nope.
guys? I mean, this is an undefeated UTSA team, and they're just like, nah, you're not any good. Now, I do think UAB is pretty good. Like, they looked
They're
great
a
last
superior
week.
team in Conference
They looked
USA.
great against they struggled against Central Arkansas, and then they got beaten down by Miami. But the last week in South Alabama, in a team that I think is Central Arkansas is in their weight class, but like a team that's much more in their weight class, they looked great. Passing game is very strong for them, and that's going to be a big problem for UTSA because their secondary has been pretty poor. Mm-hmm. Bryson Lucero, the quarterback for UAB, is pretty solid. For UTSA, a big question is going to be what the offense looks like. Who starts at quarterback, right? We don't know. I don't know the status of Frank Harris. He left the game last week with an injury. Josh Atkins, I think, came in and looked solid, did solid. More importantly, they got Sincere McCormick. But the biggest issue for me is that this is a UTSA team whose secondary has not been tested, and when they have been tested, they have not looked great.
Going up against a
team that does throw the ball well at home, right? At home. That said, 20.5 too rich for my blood, man. 20.5 too rich. That's too much. 17 makes this really tough. 20.5. I feel like UTSA is going to be able to keep this thing relatively close. That's a blowout. 20 points is a blowout.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think UTSA is getting blown out. I'm going to take UTSA plus 20.5. I'm going to take the road double-digit dog. I think they're able to keep this thing. Like I said, I think they lose between 14 and 17, but
right.
I don't think this is
when I wrote that down, I was like, man, that's really high.
Right. I don't think that's what I'm going with. So I'm going to go with UTSA plus 20.5. What's next, Ashley?
All right. Some SEC action as the Fighting Texas Aggies head up to take on the number 2 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide, 2:30 p.m. Saturday. Bama favored by 16.5 at home.
So, large game. I don't know if you heard about this. Large game.
I've never heard of either of these teams, actually.
And look. So, Alabama, in their opener against Missouri, did what they should do against bad teams. And I think Missouri's Missouri's a mediocre team. Mm-hmm. They did what they did, which is just really kind of pick them apart. This is two teams that had different openers. Mm-hmm. Alabama, I think, comes away going on the road, getting a pretty emphatic, much more lopsided than the score indicates, win over Missouri. Ran the ball well. Mac Jones, the quarterback, was solid. The defense was excellent. It was all over people, right? Going up against A&M, and the big question is what we saw from A&M the norm or a week 1 thing?
Right.
And what I wish we would have here is like A&M against like Mississippi State.
Yes,
or someone who is a lot more average in the SEC,
not
as
Vanderbilt.
opposed to, although they just knocked off LSU, as opposed to like Alabama, like the team to beat arguably in the country. Apologies to Clemson, right? Like that's what's problematic about this is that they're going from playing the like pretty much consensus worst team in the SEC in Vanderbilt, maybe Arkansas, at least the worst team in the East, to going and playing the gold standard, right? So the offense for A&M is a big problem last week. Turnovers, penalties, they could not convert a third down, just 17 points. It was ugly. I thought the defense played pretty well, okay? And the defense playing pretty well is why I'm going to take A&M plus 16.5. I think they're going to be able to keep this thing relatively low scoring. I want to be clear. I think Alabama wins this game. But I think it's going to be something along the lines like 34-20, something like that, where Alabama, does enough. Maybe A&M scores a late garbage time touchdown. This is basically they're saying, is A&M going to lose by 3 scores? Mm-hmm. I think their defense is good enough to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm going to take A&M plus 16.5. I think keep this thing within 3 scores. I'm not saying they win, okay? Again, I think they lose 10 to 14 points. But I do think they go on the road and they keep this thing close. That's what I'm saying. So I don't think this is a blowout. I think A&M keeps this thing close. What's next? Pickle.
I would not have guessed that. Number 25.
Oh, really? You thought I was going to take Alabama?
Yeah, I did. Number 25.
You're welcome to make your picks, too.
Memphis at SMU, 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. Memphis favored by 3 as the road team.
Yeah, so SMU, road dog. I'm sorry, home dog.
Home dog.
To the number 25 team in the country.
Home dog.
This is the conference game. So obviously pretty critical here for both teams. Memphis is a team that has only played one game. They've only played one game. Now they have been, they've lost the last couple of weeks due to COVID issues. They are a team that, when they've been on the field, have looked good. They look really good, and they look like a team that maybe is arguably the team to beat in the American Athletic Conference. Mm-hmm. If you remember when they played last year, this was 54-48 Memphis in a wild back and forth.
Didn't it go into overtime?
Maybe. No, I think it was just
shy of it. Okay.
Like I think SMU was like throwing for the end zone.
We were wanting overtime because we're like, this is a great game.
SMU has been playing extremely well. Mm-hmm. Okay, SMU's been playing extremely well, and they're getting them at home, and you're going to give me a couple points. I'm going to take SMU. I think this is a field goal game either way. Mm-hmm. I think this is a field goal game either way. So I'm going to take SMU plus 3. I would have taken whoever gave me points, basically, in this one, because I think that this is a really evenly matched game. The question for me is going to be, can they get the balance of the offense going? Can both Ulysses Bentley and TJ McDaniel get going? And can Shane Buechele get going? If they get going, you could see a repeat of what you saw last year, right? But because here's one of the problems for SMU is that their secondary has been. I mean, remember what happened against North Texas? North Texas kind of picked them apart.
And I think that's the thing is it's a really good measuring stick game because we've seen SMU just straight up do exactly what they needed to do against teams that they've played. But this one is more even
the degree of difficulty increases.
Yeah.
Here. I'm going to take SMU plus 3 at home. If you give me a home dog, I'm going to take it. So I'm going to take SMU plus 3. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, back to the Big 12 we go as Texas Tech heads over to Kansas State, 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. K-State favored by 2.5 in Manhattan.
Yeah.
This one is interesting.
So here's what you've got.
After last week, at least.
You have 2 teams that have. Okay, you've got Kansas State. Kansas State has a terrible result on their books when they lost to Arkansas State. Mm-hmm. They also have an elite result on their books when they beat Oklahoma. So I don't know what in the hell they are. I have no idea. Like, on one hand, this was a team that, because, like, the big reason they won last week was their
little wide receiver went off.
Their secondary Their secondary is boomer bust,
Mhm.
okay? Because their secondary got picked apart by Arkansas State, and they gave up a fair amount of yards to Spencer Rattler, but they also picked off 3 passes, okay? They are a boomer bust secondary. Going up against Texas Tech, that, look, kind of on the other side of it, the offense has not been a problem, I would say. The offense has been pretty good. The question is going to be, the Texas Tech is a team that has a pretty decent running game, Roderick Thompson, stuff like that. They've got to have that balance, right, so that they can help to pick apart this vulnerable, I would say, Kansas State defense. They should be able to bomb away on them. I think they're going to be able to throw the ball a fair bit in this game. The question is going to be, like, which secondary can hold serve? Which secondary can come up with this 1 or 2 stops? I do think that Kansas State's playmaking ability in the secondary, beyond adding into the fact that they're at home, coming off of a big win, while Texas Tech is coming off of what has to be just a gut-wrenching loss.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of the intangibles in a close game like this, -2.5, I'm going to take Kansas State -2.5 at home. I think they're going to be able to win this game by a field goal. I like Kansas State -2.5.
That's what made the pick so much harder, too, is the fact that they're in Manhattan. Even when Kansas State is just god-awful, they'll win those random games up there.
Yes. All right. What's last?
And finally, our 6 p.m. night game, Southern Miss at North Texas, 6 p.m. or 6:30 on Saturday. Mean Green favored by 1.5 at home.
All right. Let's talk about these two teams.
Yikes.
Okay. Both these teams, their defenses are the pits.
Oh, yeah.
They stink.
Terrible.
Okay? That as much as we've been crapping on North Texas for giving up 65 to SMU, Southern Miss gave up 66 to Tulane last week. This defense stinks. Okay? Both these defenses stink. The question is going to be, A, who can come up with a couple of plays? And B, which offense can take advantage of them? Now, this is an offense in Southern Miss that still has one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, in Jack Abraham. I love Jack Abraham. There. I think he's gonna be able to cook. But I also think, look, I'm also a believer in this North Texas offense. I think it sounds like, I mean, we don't even know what their quarterback situation's like. They've kind of gone back and forth. Is it going to be Ani?
I think it's leaning heavier towards Bean.
Towards Bean, okay.
But I don't know.
So, they both, whoever's throwing the ball will have Jalen Darden, and that's a big thing. And they'll be able, they should be able to run the ball against a team that cannot stop the run. That's the thing for North Texas, in my mind, is that their secondary stinks. Their front seven, it's fine. It's okay. For Southern Miss, all of it stinks. And maybe that's the difference. Maybe the difference is being at home. Maybe the difference is coming up with 1 or 2 stops and being able to have that offensive balance that's going to be able to put them over the top. I'm going to take North Texas -1.5. I think they win this game at home by about a field goal. A lot of good lines this week. But I'm going to take North Texas to get a win. So I'm going to go with TCU +13 at Texas. I'm going to go Baylor -3 at West Virginia. I like UTSA +20.5 at UAB. I like A&M +16.5 at Alabama. I like SMU +3 at home against Memphis. I like Kansas State -2.5 at home against Texas Tech. And I like North Texas -1.5 at home against Southern Miss. That is free money.